Right, let's crack on. Hello and welcome back. So today I thought I would sit down and do another talky one on group therapy. As I have mentioned a few times I think now, I have done one group called Coping Skills and I am still in another group called Steps. So seeing as I've done two, technically actually been in three, but I dropped out of the first one after one session. But I thought I would sort of share my opinions and advice on groups if anyone is interested. If you're anything like I was, the thought of being in a group was a big no-no. Just, it's not going to happen, mate, so don't keep offering it because I'm just going to say no. I did not like the idea of it at all. Back in January 2018, I was new to the adult services. I'd been in the child's one, which was, when I started, was called CAMS. It then changed its name to OOMS. But come January 2018, obviously I turned 18. I had just come out of hospital December 2017, and so went straight into the adult services. I had a care coordinator who had met whilst I was in hospital, who I was due to work with at my centre once I was out, and then she referred me to a DBT group at my centre. All I wanted to do was one-to-one therapy all throughout hospital. That's all I said I wanted to do. I was really adamant that that's what was best, and they said no. At that time, my relationship with services was poor. I hated them. Reluctantly, I did say yes to the DBT group because they said until you've done groups and you are stable enough for one-to-one therapy, yeah, you're not going to get it, so you need to do groups. And ooh, that hit a nerve. I remember being like, not stable enough to do one-to-one therapy. Like, mate, if I was stable enough, I wouldn't be bloody here in the first place. So I was raging at the time. But yeah, I said yes to the DBT group because that was my only option. Otherwise, I wouldn't get help. So I would be back at square one. It was, I don't know, a month or two, I can't really remember, until it actually started. I went to the first session and yeah, I didn't go back. It wasn't gonna work for me. I sat there and I was completely dissociated, just had this hate towards everyone in the room, didn't want to participate, wasn't gonna listen to the facilitators because I just had this chip on my shoulder, like, what do they know, blah, blah, blah. Look at them. I stared out the window, stared at the clock, I wasn't in the room, my head was elsewhere. After that experience, that was it. That was like, told ya, groups aren't for me. Not doing it. So carried on seeing my care coordinator for a few months until another group came up called Coping Skills. This was towards the end of 2018. During that time I was doing like light work with my care coordinator. Would see the psychiatrist like once probably in that time. You see him like twice a year. Few different like assessments with psychologists, probably occupational therapy, and then they suggested coping skills. It was the same, you know, argument. You're not getting one-to-one therapy because I would keep chasing that up. When am I going to do one-to-one therapy? No, you're not doing that until you have done some group work because you need to make sure you have the skills to be able to handle like more in-depth work. So nearing the end of 2018, I did agree to Coping Skills because at this point it was obvious they're not going to give me what I want unless I comply and do what they suggest is best. Again, I was very reluctant to start. I didn't really talk probably half of the sessions. It was a 12-week, I think it was a 12-week? I think it was a 12-week course. Quite a short one. And this was a rolling group, so they'll do like 1 to 12 weeks and it'll just keep going. So you'd have people start in the middle or here and there, and they would just carry on. So everyone like would start and end on a different topic. And if you missed one or two, I missed I think 2 or 3 because at the beginning I was just struggling to go. Then you have to make up for it and come back when it rolls back around, kind of thing. As the weeks went on, I didn't mind showing up as much as I did in the beginning. During that like year period, let's say, it goes to show that timing is quite, you know, it's everything. That DBT group that I was put in at the beginning of my experience at the adult services, I was not ready at all. You know, I felt really behind everyone else in the group in terms of like their willingness to comply to like the work. I just wasn't in the right space at all to even get on the bus and engage with just the world, let alone sit for 2 hours and do some hard brain training. Or, you know, I think my biggest thing that I will say to anyone who is, say, at the beginning of their journey into recovery, or anyone who's considering it, or anyone who's in it and struggling, timing is really everything. If you're not ready for something, hold back a bit, because if you rush into something that is just going to overwhelm you, that's possibly more detrimental than just not doing the work at all. You've really got to make sure you're okay enough. And that's where, as much as I wish I didn't have to agree, I have to agree. Perhaps if I'd done one-to-one therapy when I'd asked for it, you know, maybe I wasn't actually ready enough, because as they said, you know, you need the skills to be able to handle it. There's a lot more in-depth work that I think a lot of us going into services sort of underestimate. So as much as psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, counsellors, they all seem like know-it-alls, they probably do kind of know a bit more than us in terms of recovery and process and the right way to go about things and what's best suited to your needs. Going back to coping skills, the way I like to describe it was like primary school of how to be normal. It was a little bit what's the word, patronising. Yeah, some of the stuff that I got from it I use, like something as simple as like breathing techniques and like relaxation. The thing that I got from coping skills the most was, because it was easy and it was quite a short one and it's quite light-hearted, it just got you used to that group environment, feeling a bit exposed and sort of engaging in being more present in the room in these quite intense environments. Like I say, first DBT one was too much. It was just whoa, like sensory overload and just no, shut off, brain dead. And that was that. But coping skills, good way of getting used to it. I remember we did a lot of like relaxation techniques, like guided meditations, and we'd sort of sit and walk through them and then we could then take them away and do them ourselves. Sort of stuff about having like a balanced life, eating well, all quite basics of how to like look after yourself and, you know, stuff like that. It was a nice way of just getting the gist of how services like to work. Like I say, therapy is really something you have to be ready for. You know, it's really important to make those small steps up to getting to a point where you can do the more intense stuff. During that time of coping skills, that would be my one sort of responsibility and task for the week. So doing small things like actually getting up and having breakfast that sounds so silly, but I think that was like one of the first things I learned in coping skills, was like, just have breakfast. Even if you're not hungry, just have breakfast. And since then I have breakfast every day. At that point, you know, I wouldn't eat till like 4 in the afternoon, and then I'd eat loads at like 11 at night, and then it was all out of sync. But yeah, like just getting up, have breakfast. Even if you get up, have breakfast and then just chill in bed for a bit, like, do you know what I mean? Like just having tiny glimpses of what routine may look like for you one day. They're all big help. Like, you know, eat, wash, try and get out of your bedroom, even if you're just going to sit downstairs if you can. I'm talking as if no one works. You know, people do work, people have jobs, people go to school and college, and so if you're still able to do all those things, just really break everything down and take it slower and try and do it as much as possible, because there's all stuff that's going to help you get to the harder therapy work that you can do. Because, you know, you can't go from being in bed every day all day just seeing your four walls to then going into a really intense group or one-to-one therapy kind of thing. You're asking to be triggered, really. Like, everyone's triggers are different, but just change. I feel big change is a massive trigger for loads of people. Definitely me. You know yourself better than anyone will. If you think, yeah, I could possibly do this, just give it a little go. And if you think, no, not today, then that's alright. That's, you know, you can just try again another day. Coping Skills is a group that has people with all different difficulties in it. It's not just one diagnosis. It could be a range, or maybe not even a diagnosis. You're just struggling a bit and need a bit of help. You know, it's got a bit of everyone, and everything. So yeah, I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but in short, Coping Skills was basically a group that enables you to learn and explore a wide range of strategies and how to deal with things that may come up in life. It's your very basic general stuff, so I do recommend Coping Skills as like a beginner group. I'm sure there's others out there, but that was a nice little gateway into it. So once I had finished the 12-week course, then carried on work again with my care coordinator. I say work, it was more like having a rant, having a chit chat, and then a little bit of work perhaps. And then I had another assessment with occupational therapy, OT, and then they decided that steps would be best for me. At the time I was just like, yeah, okay, it's another step closer to what I may want. All I knew was, or all I thought was, it was similar to DBT, but not DBT, and it's called something else. So steps was started May this year, 2019. So like 4 months later, I started steps, and then I didn't realise that until I got there that it was specific to BPD and or people with traits of it. And then obviously that's where I'm at now. Like I say, it's a lot more in depth. It's a 21-week course, so it's a lot longer. That's what was it, 6 months on, as I mentioned in my other video. All aspects of what people with BPD struggle with. Like, it's hard. It's rather than being in primary school now, we've moved up to like senior school, you know, learning to be normal. But it's alright. It's definitely benefiting, you know. I think most people in the group can agree, you know, we all have our ups and downs, but it just feels like the work we're doing is like solidifying in my head. Still have to sort of, for example, challenging thoughts, whether they're negative or whatever, if they're just potentially wrong thoughts, like they're not fact. It's like catching yourself 50 times a day doing it and like trying to go like, no, not necessarily true, is it, brain? Stuff like that, and you know, and it's sort of just becoming more instinctual and habit, and so that's what I mean by it's solidifying. Like the work we're doing is actually becoming the way I assume we think. Coming from someone who absolutely hated the idea of groups, kicked up a fuss about it and said no multiple times, a year and a half later I can say actually, you know, it's taken time and taken a hell of a lot of work and a hell of a lot of waiting. Like, I think if there's one thing we can all agree on is services, they take so long. So, you know, if you want to get help, you got to kind of just expect you're going to be waiting a while. There ain't no easy way around it. You know, you might be lucky in some areas, but I think in most, as we all know, there's lack of funding, lack of whatever, lack of everything. There's a lot of waiting, and that is the hardest bit. That is the most challenging bit. But like I say, I hated the idea of groups. Here I am, bigging them up. Oh God. Did not think that would ever happen, but yeah. Sometimes they're hard, like, you know, our group this week, it was a bit challenging. I was a bit on one, you know, I was a bit hyper and jittery and couldn't stop moving, and then my mood dropped and I was angry, and you know, by the time I'd left I was raging in the car. I was not happy, but you know, I walked in a good mood, and then
classic BPD.
That's what I mean, like these environments can be a bit triggering, but you're there to learn what to do when you are triggered. It's all part of the process, you know what I mean? You know, if you're offered groups, have a think about it. If you really don't think you're ready, or do what I did. I went to one session of DBT, wasn't ready, left. You can leave. You've got to listen to yourself. If you're not ready, come up with some other work that you could possibly do within your team to get you ready. Anyway, that was today's video. I don't know if it's made much sense. You know, if it's not for you, it's not for you, and that's alright. That's alright. There's lots of different things you can do, but groups seem to be the thing that arises a lot because of, like I say, funding. Blah, 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 blah. That's the world we live in at the moment, isn't it? You know, will it change? Probably not. But anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope it's helpful. If not, fairs. I'm off then. See you later. Enjoy the rest of your day. Go to your group therapy. Oh, stop talking. Bloody hell.